And I don't know about you, but I reckon that's a good thing. Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Buenos dias. Stuart here with an update video. We'll take a look at some of the main stories that caught my attention in the Spanish press over the last week or so. One story in particular has been dominating the press here, the story of wildfires. We'll take a look at some of the main stories about that particular story in this video. And one article that has caught my attention in the British press over the last couple of days we'll take a look at too at the end of this video, so stick around for that. Let's get stuck into it. Now, as you can see, another beautiful day here in central Spain on the outskirts of Madrid, getting up to a top today of around 31-32 degrees Celsius and blue skies all around. Fortunately, the temperatures have dropped over the last few days or so. We haven't got those extreme 40-degree days anymore, down to around the low 30s, which is a relief. So, the big story that has been dominating the press in Spain for the last 3 weeks, I reckon, the story of wildfires. Thousands and thousands of hectares have been destroyed by these fires, primarily in 3 parts of the country. Galicia, up there in the northwest of the country, the autonomous community of Castilla y León as well, and also the autonomous community of Extremadura. And as I said before, thousands and thousands of hectares destroyed. The exact figure I'll give you in just a moment, but it's pretty amazing. And as you would expect, when these things happen, these tragedies, these disasters, we saw it with the floods last year, now with the fires, it becomes a political shit show. Politicians from both sides of the political spectrum start to throw blame around. The finger pointing comes out, this should have been done, that should have been done, and the citizens of the country are left asking the question, why weren't these things done? And Spain's complex and often dysfunctional political system is on display for all to see. Because what happens here, and given the way that Spain is divided into these 17 autonomous communities, and each of those 17 autonomous communities has their own president, and then of course we have the central government as well with the president of the government, and of course people want to know who takes responsibility for these events. Is it the autonomous communities that have the resources to take care of these events, or should the central government step in? And that's the debate that we always seem to have. It happened, as I said, during the floods, happening again now with the fires, and let's be honest, this happens in other countries too that have a similar type of system. Right? And it seems to be very confusing for the average citizen to work out who is exactly in charge when these disasters happen. And the political fighting and often lack of response from top-level politicians is also very frustrating for the average person in this country, I think. Now let's take a look at just how devastating these recent fires have been. For example, with this article here in the newspaper El País, 358,000 hectares in 15 days. This is how Spain burned in its darkest weeks. In just 2 weeks, Spain has suffered 19 of the 50 largest fires recorded in the last decade, according to the European Forest Fire Information System. The 358,000 hectares destroyed since August the 8th have made 2025 the country's worst year, with a total area now exceeding 400,000 hectares. The record in 2022, when 306,000 hectares burned in fires as devastating as those in Los Sacio and Ferreras de Arriba, which devastated more than 60,000 hectares in the Sierra de la Culebra, is far from complete. So that is what people have been dealing with here in Spain this year, 2025, as far as fires are concerned. Absolutely devastating, and more than 358,000 hectares burnt. Incredible. And what about the economic cost of these devastating fires? Well, let's take a look at this article here with the headline, "The Bill of the Fires, Thousands of Burnt Hectares and an Economic Cost that Exceeds 500 million. The forest fires that devastated Spain this summer have not only left behind a desolate landscape and several truncated lives, but also an economic bill that is difficult to assume. The cost of extinguishing the flames skyrockets as the outbreaks increase. The calculations of the Forestry Agency of Navarra place the extinction at about 10,000 euros per hectare when air means are used, which is equivalent to more than 530 million euros only so far in the summer. So that gives gives us some of an idea of the economic cost of these disasters. Incredible. And if we add those figures to the figures of the Dana damage last year or the flood damage last year, we're talking about a lot of money. Wowee, a lot of money. And where is the money going to come from for this recovery? To be honest, I've got no idea, but if you've got a better idea than me, please let me know in the comment section below. Where's the cash going to come from? But anyway, I'll leave that one up to the politicians to work out, because let's be honest, it's above my pay grade. Now, as you guys can see, I'm back in my usual habitat here on the outskirts of Madrid after a month in Portugal. Is it good to be back? I don't know. Surrounded by the fast food choices that we have here, the shopping centres, the malls, all of those mod cons that we have living on the outskirts of a big city. And in Portugal, or at least the parts of Portugal that I go to, we don't have things like Foster's Hollywood or Taco Bell or Primark. And I don't know about you, but I reckon that's a good thing. Now, don't get me wrong, in Portugal you can find your Taco Bells, you can find your Primarks, you can find your Burger Kings, you can find your McDonald's, but the part of Portugal that we go to, a lot of those things haven't arrived yet. There's one Burger King which has popped up in recent years, and I'm surprised how popular Burger King is in that small town, considering the fantastic local cuisine, but that's what we're dealing with nowadays. These multinational fast food companies imposing themselves on us. But then again, I suppose that if we didn't buy so much fast or junk food, they wouldn't exist, would they? But anyway, enough of my rant, and I'm going to be honest, it is good to be home, although I do miss Portugal, and let's hope that that part of Portugal never gets overrun by these big multinationals. Fingers crossed. Now, the final thing I'm going to talk about today, and it relates to an interesting article that I saw in the Guardian newspaper about the advance of the Spanish language in high schools in the UK. Interesting. Now, here's the article here. We can see the headline: Au revoir to French, Spanish becomes most popular language, GCSE. As I said, interesting. Let's read on. Despite a once bitter rivalry that dates to before the Spanish Armada in 1588, pupils in England are studying Espanol in greater numbers than ever before, with it overtaking French as the most popular language for GCSEs. The rise of Spanish in schools has long been predicted, helped by the popularity of holidays in Spain and the Canary Islands and its greater global reach. More recently, its popularity has been turbocharged by cultural influences through music, cinema, and much of the US media, with an added attraction for young football fans thanks to superstars such as Lionel Messi of Argentina and the success of La Liga clubs, including Real Madrid. The British Council said there had been a sustained rise of nearly 25% in Spanish GCSE entries since 2020. This year there were more than 136,000 entries, just ahead of French, the perennial modern foreign languages champion, with fewer than 133,000. So there we go, Spanish or El Español on the rise in the UK among students. Amazing. And all I can say is that it's about time that Spanish has overtaken French, because let's be honest, Spanish has a far greater reach than the French language, in my opinion, of course. And also incredible to see how Spanish is starting to creep into the mainstream, especially in the United States, through popular culture, music, cinema, and the like. And that influence starts to rub off on teenagers in places like the United Kingdom, and no doubt Australia as well. So the Spanish language gaining popularity amongst the youth of the United Kingdom, and does this mean that future generations of people that come to this country on holiday will be able to speak the local lingo? Time will tell, but I reckon we're making progress as far as this is concerned. On that note, I'm going to wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. If you have anything to add to the conversation today, please, the comment section is the place for you. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so that you never miss a video when I publish it. Until the next one, hasta luego from Spain.